Vinyakshakaranam
Uma Sutam Shoka Vinyakshakaranam
Uma Sutam Shoka Vinyakshakaranam
Namami Vinyeshwara Para Pankajam
Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam
Namami Vinyeshwara Para Pankajam
Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam
Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati Om Gam Ganapataye Namah
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha
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 Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati Gananata Parvati Parvati
Welcome to Satsang, everyone. We'll start with closing our eyes together for a few minutes of meditation together. So just allow your eyes to close gently. Don't worry too much about the position of your body. As long as it's balanced and the breath can flow freely. Allow yourself to withdraw all of the senses. Pull your awareness, your attention from being focused on the outer world bring it in. There will always be distractions in the outer world. Meditation teaches us not how to be quiet when it's quiet outside, but how to find a place of quiet within ourselves, not dependent on the external environment. Draw the awareness inward. Now pull that awareness to the breath. Allow the awareness to merge into the breath, but not up in your chest. Bring that awareness to your breath, low in the abdomen. Bring the awareness to a place a few inches below your belly button, called the Swadisthana Chakra. It's an energy center that sits about 2 inches below the navel. Draw the awareness to your breath there. So as you inhale and exhale, allow yourself to breathe in from that spot, in from that energy center. And exhale back down into it. And as you inhale, allow the breath to rise. So rather than breathing in and out horizontally, rather than the abdomen filling and releasing, instead of that, allow the breath to rise vertically. So on the inhalations, allow that breath to rise upward from the Swadhisthana Chakra. Allow it to rise up through your being, through your rib cage and lungs, through the throat, through the face, all the way to your third eye center, just between the eyebrows. What's called the Agya Chakra. The energy center, that power of discrimination, that power to see the truth from falsehood. Allow the breath to rise to your third eye. And as it rises, allow that energy to have that eye open. And as you exhale, the breath drops back down into the Swadhisthana Chakra. So the breaths are inhaling upward to that third eye center. And then exhaling downward from the third eye back down to the Swadisthana Chakra. And if you can't carry the breath all the way up on an unbroken single inhalation, don't worry. Just carry it as high as it will go. And then release. But make sure at the end of each exhalation, you drop back down, back to that Swadhisthana Chakra, below the belly button, that energy center. Rising higher and higher on each inhalation and sinking deeply into the core of the self on each exhalation. And even if you can't carry the breath all the way up on one inhalation, still allow the attention on the inhalations to be focused on that third eye, as though it were carrying the breath toward it. Slowly and gently, bring the palms together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms into your closed eyes. Gently open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome again to Satsang. Is this on? Yeah, good. Okay. We will begin as always with a question that's come in advance, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. Is it ever okay to question things? It seems as, yeah, now we're on. The difference between theoretically on and really on. Yes, thank you. Is it ever okay to question things? It seems as though that's like suggesting that God is wrong. So, first of all, questions play a lot of different roles in our life. And there's no blanket answer of, yes, it's okay, no, it's not okay, yes, it's good, no, it's not good. Questions play a very specific role in specific situations. Sometimes they're wonderful, at other times it's better to avoid them. They're always okay. There's never a time in which questions are not okay. But the question to ask ourselves is, how does it impact me? So when you look specifically at this question, is it okay to question things, otherwise are we saying God is wrong? Well, of course not, because God did not create a static world. It wasn't like God made one two-dimensional painting and that was the end of it. And we look at it and we say, well, maybe that's not right, maybe that's not right. What you have to remember is, in God's creation, He also gave us free will. He also gave us the ability, even the likelihood, that we will forget who we are and we will falsely identify with our bodies, with our egos, with our emotions, with our drama, with our stories. And so when you've got a world that's been created in which we are co-creating it every minute as we go along. It's not a one-time fixed two-dimensional painting that either you think it's perfect and brilliant or an amazing, or you think it's not so perfect, or maybe you think it's nice but you'd like to change this or that. Life is an ever constantly changing situation, and it's changing in large part based on what we're doing to it. And so to question things is not necessarily by any means to say there's a problem with God. It's to say, is this the highest that I can be in this moment? Is this the clearest? Is this the purest? Is this the most anchored? Is this the most grounded that I can be in this moment? Or might there be a different option? Questioning things is not questioning God. It's questioning us. So by all means, it's fine to question things. Into that question arises, what can I do? There's a beautiful saying that the only thing missing from any situation is that which you are not giving to that situation. And so if you're in a situation and you question it and you think, is this really exactly how it should be? Maybe it could be like this. Maybe it could be like that. Ask yourself, it's not about, hey, God, you made a mess. It's about, what am I not doing in this situation that could change it? What am I not doing in this situation that could bring it more clarity, more peace, more depth? What's missing in me? So allow that to be the question, because as I began, questions have a lot of different forms and they play a lot of different roles. So one question is a question out. Hey God, why did you create this like that? Another way is a question in. Hey self, why are you having such a problem with this situation? Hey self, what is it about this that's really bugging you? Hey self, what is it here that you're not giving to this situation? And those are the questions. Those are the questions that take us into a much deeper experience, as well as take us into the possibility of being able to actually change situations. Now, here's the thing to remember about questions, though. The heart doesn't wonder. The heart feels. Questions arise in the mind. The mind is the birthplace of questions. The heart may have the ability to feel lots of different things, but it's not sitting around wondering, what do I feel? The heart doesn't go, what do I feel? Why do I feel this? What is this like? The heart just feels. It loves. How many of us have ever tried to convince our hearts not to love in a certain way, right? You can't. The heart just loves. No rhyme or reason. And there may be other situations. We're living in a world of arranged marriages that many times work, sometimes don't. But there's a lot of times where you think, I wish I could convince my heart to love. If somehow you could just dictate that heart or convince the heart or rationalize, it doesn't work. The heart just feels. All of that goes on in the mind. And so the dilemma with questions is, on the one hand, the questions create the path for us inward. And so, for example, one of the deepest meditative practices is to simply keep asking yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? The question itself creates the space for the experience. And the questions can also serve the exact opposite purpose. The questions can keep us only in our heads. When we don't want to feel, our mind goes like this. When we're in situations where we don't want to feel something, where feeling is threatening. Happens a lot, sadly, in spiritual situations as well. Where you feel yourself on the verge of having a very, very deep, powerful experience. And the mind will come in and say, what is this? What's happening to me? Is this enlightenment? I bet this is enlightenment. I bet I'm just about to get enlightened. No, it can't be enlightenment, because I remember reading somewhere that when enlightenment happens, that happens. So what is this? I wonder what the difference between enlightenment and awakening is. I know. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to ask that next time. So you see where you were right on the verge of having a very powerful experience, even if you don't know what it was called. But the mind, out of fear of that experience, because in that moment, the mind loses its hold on you. The ego loses its hold on you when you have that experience of melting and merging into the divine. When you have the experience of existing as consciousness, as love. Well, the ego doesn't really have a very big speaking role in that particular aspect of your own cosmic drama. And the ego likes to always have the biggest, the starring role in the show. And so it's going to immediately try to pull you out of that experience, back to a situation where it is in charge. And so you have to, when questions arise, it's never not okay to have them. But you need to always give yourself another question, which is this question I have something that is going to pave the way for me to go deeper? Is this question taking me inward deeper? Or is this question a way for me to stay out of my heart, out of my soul, out of my truth, and in the games of my mind? That if I somehow can just relegate this to a cognitive experience, I don't have to have the transformation of my heart. And so if you find that you're having a lot of questions related to God that make you wonder whether maybe, as the questioner asked, is this wrong to ask about God? Nothing is wrong to ask about God. God is not worried by your questions. But what you have to realize is those very questions may be your ego's way of keeping you from simply having an experience about God. That if every time you get close to having an experience about God, your mind says, well, this can't be God because I always thought God was supposed to look like that. And isn't it true that when you experience God, you feel this, or you see that, or you hear this, or there's lights, or there's shapes, or there's this? So you've just pulled yourself out of an experience. You may have given yourself some great questions. But what the questions serve is just to pull you out of the experience. So always ask yourself, is this a question that enables me to go deeper? Or is this a question that keeps me from my truth? You'll see. Let's do an experiment. Not an experiment, rather. Let's do an experience. Not an experiment. I've done it a lot. I know it works. But an experience. Wherever you are, don't move, but just turn to the person next to you. Find a partner. Someone near you. Find a partner. Partner up. And move a little bit just to get closer to your partner. And if anyone doesn't have a partner, raise your hand. Okay, I have one without a partner over here. Great. So the two of you can be partners because you're close. Great. The two of you in the back who just raised your hand. Great. You guys are partners. And the two of you are partners. Wonderful. Anybody else not have a partner? Wonderful. Okay. Now I want you to sit and face your partner. And get as close as you can because the room is crowded and you want to be able to speak without hearing too much of other people. Great. Now, one of you is going to be partner 1. One is going to be partner 2. Those of you who are partner 1, raise your hand. I'm going to let you sort out who's 1 and who's 2. So if you're partner 1, raise your hand. Great. If you're partner 2, raise your hand. If you don't know whether you're partner 1 or 2, raise your hand. Okay, great. We're clear. Partner 1. You are going to be the asker. Partner 2, you are the answerer. Partner 1, your job is very simple. You are going to ask the question, who are you? But here's what it looks like. You're just going to keep asking it. So you're going to say to your partner, speak slightly softly just because otherwise with the crowd the room will get very loud and it's better if it's not quite so loud. So you're sitting close. Who are you? Partner 2, you're just going to speak. Do not censor yourself. Do not think about the right answer. Just speak from your heart. The minute they are done, and they may only have one word, they may give you a name, they may give you a name and an age, they could give you lots of different things. The minute they stop, partner 1, again you say, who are you? They give a different answer. The goal, partner 2, is keep going deeper. For partner 1, the goal is keep pushing them deeper. But you can only ask that question, who are you? So you don't get to say, come on, go deeper. Use your eyes, use your presence, create a safe space for them to go deeper. Partner 1, it's a very beautiful role you play. Your presence is that which creates the space for partner 2 to drop deeply. Okay? So we're going to do it for a few minutes on both sides. First, partner 1. And you're going to keep going. I will tell you when to switch. So partner 1, if giggles come, try to avoid them. It is natural. It happens. We get nervous. The truth sometimes makes us nervous. Not knowing the truth makes us nervous. Sharing our truth with someone we don't know makes us nervous. Nonetheless, it's a safe space. Try to drop in. Partner 1, start asking. I don't think the mics. Okay. Switch partners. Now, partner 2, you are the asker, and partner 1, you are the answerer. Go. So conclude that thought and then come back to the center. But if you want to give your partner a hug, feel free to do that. We also have this beautiful tradition here in India of bowing to each other in Namaste. It means the divine within me bows to the divine within you. So, you felt, hopefully, not just the truth that comes up for you, but also the power of a question that can take you into truth. A power of a question that takes you from the head into the heart. A question that itself becomes an opening and a pathway into truth. So if you're ever wondering about questions you have, that is always a very good yardstick. Is this a question that takes me into truth? Or is it a question that I am using to avoid the truth? And of course, there's a whole other category of questions that don't have anything to do with satsang, but that's just sort of general knowledge types of questions, which are neither of the two examples, which are ways of just acquiring more information and knowledge that is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what we do in school. It's what you do when you read a book about something or you go onto Google to learn about something. So never think that questions are wrong. Learning is wonderful. Inquiring is wonderful. The only time to be careful is if the question is being used to pull you out of the truth. So you can think of it as sort of a spectrum. On the one hand, you have the deepest level question, which is this type of question, a question where through simply asking the question, you actually get closer to the truth. Then you have what's most of the spectrum, which is questions that are just questions. How does gravity work? How do airplanes stay in the sky? These fascinating questions. When's the next full moon? All sorts of questions that we have that are neither ones that are dropping us into truth, nor things that are pulling us out of truth. That's where most of our general type of questions lie. But then we get into this end of the spectrum over here, which is the question as a way to avoid my truth. Question as a way to criticize, to be critical, to constantly be judging, which is also a very dangerous place to be because it does two things. Number one, it pulls me out of my heart. Pulls me right into my thinking mind, right out of my loving heart. But also what it does is it pulls me out of the experience. Because if I'm looking at the experience and I'm questioning the experience, particularly with a critical, judgmental eye, I'm not being present with it. And we then end up in a situation where our lives pass us by and we realize we haven't actually lived them. We've been so busy being on the outside looking in, casting judgment, being critical, questioning everything, that we never actually had the ability to live. So those are the ones over on this end of the spectrum that we want to be careful of. With that, I am happy to open it up if there are questions here. Yes.
Hi. How do you cope with fear to death, and how do you teach your children to cope with that?
Fear of death. So, fear of death is actually a great place to be. And I'll tell you why. All of the other things that we fear are just somewhere along the way to fear of death. Meaning, if you say to me, I have a fear of elevators, let's say, just take a random fear. I've got a fear of elevators. Okay. So you take someone with a fear of elevators and you walk them through it. Okay. Close your eyes, imagine you're walking into an elevator. They start to panic. All right, worst case scenario, what's going to happen? I'm going to get stuck in the elevator. Okay, worst case scenario, you are stuck in the elevator. Now what happens? I can't get out. Okay, worst case scenario, you can't get out. Then what happens? And you walk them through step by step. And where they always end up with is, and then I die. Take anything you're really afraid of and follow it to its worst case scenario conclusion. And it always ends up with, and then I die. Sometimes it's an ego death. Sometimes the fear is a fear of failure. Why? I'm going to be humiliated. Why? Fear of that humiliation. Well, if I'm humiliated, then I will cease to exist. If I'm humiliated, I don't deserve to occupy my place on planet Earth. We have these fears. So it may not necessarily be a physical death, but for people who really, really, really fear embarrassment, humiliation, all of that, they're wrapped up with a sense of literally, if I am humiliated, I will cease to exist. That feeling of I will melt into the ground, I will come apart. The glue that holds me together will melt. It will no longer hold me together. I will cease to exist. Basically, I will die. So fear of death is actually a great place to be because you've at least gotten yourself to the truth of what the fear is, rather than wasting your time being afraid of elevators, when actually what you're afraid of is death. So if we begin with the fear of death, it's a great place to start because we save time. We begin where really that's what it's about. So if you're talking about children who are afraid of death, it's wonderful because what it means is they know what they're afraid of. They're not coming home and saying, I'm afraid of my closet, I'm afraid of the dark, I'm afraid of all these things that may symbolize death. But they're clear, it's death. Okay. So first piece is great place to start. Second piece is the irony of the fear of death is you're guaranteed to die. So almost all of the rest of the stuff we're afraid of, we actually can live our lives avoiding. You could theoretically live your entire life and never get in an elevator. You could, if you're afraid of heights, you could live your life and never be on the top of a tall building. We can avoid fear of public speaking, fear of this. People can spend their whole lives avoiding that which causes anxiety for them, except death, which, as we've just determined, is, in any case, the bottom line of everything we're afraid of. So here we have this incredible irony, this fear of death, and yet a guarantee that it's going to happen. So the first and most important piece is make sure they know it's going to happen. There's no point trying to protect them from that truth. Because at some point they're going to realize it, and then they're going to feel betrayed. So they need to understand everything that is born dies. And you can begin, walk into the garden, show them a beautiful flower that's blossoming in the morning. Walk out a couple of days later, show them how the flower has wilted. Get them a goldfish. Within a few weeks or, maximum a few months, you're going to teach them about death. Work them up to something that's going to devastate them like a dog. Slowly, slowly. Help them understand everything that is born. Take them to see trees that have beautiful green leaves. Then take them to see those same trees in December and January when there's no leaves on them. Help them understand the cycle of nature. That everything that is born dies. Show them pictures of your grandparents, your great-grandparents. Show them pictures of wonderful, famous world leader, pictures of Gandhi, pictures of Martin Luther King. Show them pictures of wonderful people who lived. Just to normalize death, that it isn't something to be afraid of. It happens to everyone and everything. And then, the most important piece, help them understand they're not their bodies and that only the bodies die. So while you give them the truth that everything that is born dies, the leaves, the flowers, your goldfish, you actually have the greatest gift to hand them, which is your body is going to die, and you're not your body. Now, that may sound really difficult to teach kids, but you can do it. And one of the ways to do it, and it helps trying to teach kids, because then we, of course, learn as we're teaching. Help them understand, even if, let's say they're 6. So show them a picture of themselves when they were 2. Now, you can help them understand that every cell in their body has changed since they were 2. This is what their body looked like when they were 2. This is what their body looks like now. All the cells are gone. Everything's been changed. But when they were 2, they said I. They still say I. 5 years later, they're going to say I. Show them a picture of their older sibling or older cousin or somebody else. And you say, look, in 5 years, you're going to be 11, then you're going to be 12. You're going to keep saying I. But this body, everything's going to change. Who's that I? Who's the I? Let them get sunburned and, not too much, but a little bit. Let the skin peel. Skin peels. Look, there goes your skin. But there you still are. So you're not in your skin. Where are you? Make it light but deep. Where are you? Are you in your arm? Where do you exist? Help them start to think about it. They may not have an answer, obviously. We don't have an answer. Sometimes they'll give you an incredible answer, though, and you'll think, wow, thank you, God, for sending this child into my life to teach me something. But it'll get them thinking. Suddenly they'll start thinking, where am I? If I'm not my body, where am I? And just that question, it creates that space. And that, whether you're a child or an adult, is the core and the only way I know of to deal with fear of death, is to realize, well, that which dies isn't me. It's going to die. I take as good care of it as I can for as long as I can. I do as much good work with it as I can. Serve the world as best as I can, as humbly as I can, as generously and lovingly as I can, give as much as I can, with an awareness that there's an expiration date. But with the awareness that I don't have an expiration date. I'll get a new body. Help them understand. Another way to help them understand is they keep outgrowing clothes as they grow. So you're still there, but look, those are the shorts you wore 2 years ago. They don't fit you anymore. Those jeans from last year, they don't fit you anymore. Look at that. You got a new pair. In the same way, there's going to come a time when the body doesn't fit you anymore. Whether because it's old and sick, like the jeans that got torn and ruined, or whether just for whatever reason, it no longer fits you. You need a new one. You've got a different job to do. Your school uniform isn't what you get to play baseball in, vice versa. You don't get to go to school in your baseball clothes. You need a different set of clothes for different jobs, different times, in the same way. This body you've gotten is exactly what you need to fulfill this particular journey of life. When you've got a different job, you'll get a different body. You've had different bodies in the past. You had to fulfill different jobs at that time. You had a different body. So use these sorts of examples to just help normalize the idea that who they are isn't the body. That it needs to be taken care of. We only have one. We've got a lot of work to do with it. It's a special gift. But when it dies, we don't go with it. And what that means is when our loved ones die, they haven't lost them. And so when they lose a loved one, help them understand it's very sad. The body is gone. We miss that body. We mourn that body. And get them to close their eyes. Can you still see Grandma? And they'll say, yeah. Kids are much better at that than adults are. Adults have got the mind that says, oh, you're crazy. You've got to let go and move on. Kids are honest. Yeah, of course I can still see her. I just now see her on the inside of my eyelids instead of the outside of my eyelids. But of course I can still see her. Can you still hear her? Yeah, of course you can. Just not with my physical ears. But of course she's still here, just not in that body. And that's A, a great gift to give them when they lose a loved one. But B, it's a great way to get them geared and anchored to understand the difference between loving someone's soul and just loving their body. That, yeah, you're going to lose the body at some point, but I won't lose you. So it's a very, very precious lesson to give them, because not only does it help mitigate that fear of death, but it actually gives them the deepest spiritual life lessons that if they can learn it when they're young, the amount of suffering they will avoid later in life is enormous. And it's a gift to you because kids are really good at figuring out when you're trying to, BS them, when you're teaching them something that you don't really quite believe. And so it puts us into the situation of having to be not just the teacher but the liver. It reminds me of my favorite Gandhiji story of when this mother brings her child to see Mahatma Gandhi and says, please tell him to stop eating so much sugar. He's going to ruin his teeth, ruin his health. And Gandhiji says, okay. He says, bring him back next week. So they go away, come back a week later. Gandhiji says to the boy, my son, you must stop eating sugar. It's not good for you. So the boy says, yes, okay. And the mom says, thank you. She says, but why did you make us come back a week later? And Gandhiji said, well, first I had to stop eating sugar. So it makes us actually learn it and know it in order to be able to teach it. So giving them the gift ends up becoming a great gift to you.